As the first rays of sunlight stretch across the horizon, a gentle golden glow washes over David Miller's farm in Iowa. The air is crisp, filled with the quiet promise of a new day, yet beneath the beauty, there is a heaviness that lingers. This is not just any morning, it is a morning marked by uncertainty, where the silence speaks louder than words. The light reveals a landscape that seems peaceful, but the stillness is deceptive. Where there was once the hum of engines and the laughter of workers, now there is only the soft rustle of wind through the crops. The fields, stretching as far as the eye can see, are quiet. Almost too quiet. In the middle of the field, David's combine harvester stands motionless. Once a symbol of progress and prosperity, it now sits unused, gathering dust and rust. It's a stark reminder of how quickly fortunes can change, and how progress can be halted by forces beyond one's control. These fields, which once buzzed with activity during harvest season, are now empty. The laughter, the shouts, the camaraderie of neighbors working side by side, all have faded. In their place is an uneasy quiet, a sense of waiting for something that may never come. David walks the rows alone, his boots pressing into the soft earth. Each step is heavy with the weight of generations who have farmed this land before him. He feels the burden of their hopes and dreams, and the fear that he may be the one to see it all slip away. The threat to his livelihood isn't a drought or a storm. It's not the pests or the unpredictable weather that farmers have always battled. This time the enemy is invisible, born from decisions made in distant halls of power, political choices that ripple across the heartland, leaving uncertainty in their wake. Trade barriers, imposed far from these fields, have turned David's hard-earned harvest into a burden. The grain that should have been his family's security now sits unsold, piling up in silos and storage bins, its value slipping away with each passing day. The local grain elevator, once the bustling center of the community, now stands eerily quiet. Its empty corridors and silent machinery are a grim reminder of how quickly prosperity can vanish, leaving only memories behind. The prices offered for his crops are heartbreakingly low, less than what it costs to plant, tend, and harvest them. Each number on the market board is a blow, a stark calculation that makes the future seem impossible. Every path David considers leads to the same place, financial ruin. The bills pile up, the options dwindle, and the stress seeps into every part of life, from the kitchen table to the fields outside. As the sun sets and the fields fall into shadow, the silence deepens. It is the sound of a dream fading, a legacy at risk, and a way of life hanging in the balance, waiting for hope to return. Imagine your lemonade stand's price doubling overnight due to a new tax. This is what a 100% tariff does. China has imposed such tariffs on American farm goods, doubling their price. American products become uncompetitive, rerouting global trade. A 100% tariff is economic warfare, not negotiation. For farmers, it means a sudden, catastrophic loss of income. Lower tariffs might hurt trade, but a 100% tariff halts it. It's a shutdown notice, locking American farmers out of a massive market. The gate to 1.4 billion consumers is slammed shut. China's tariffs were a response to U.S. trade actions. The U.S. imposed tariffs on India, citing its trade with Russia. This move pushed India closer to China and Russia. China's tariffs on U.S. agriculture signal solidarity with India. American agriculture, reliant on exports, is hit hard. China targets U.S. farmers to apply domestic pressure. It's a power play against perceived American overreach. By targeting farmers, China demonstrates its economic might. The message: China will retaliate with force. The U.S. must reconsider its aggressive trade posture. The stakes are high in this global economic chess game. The numbers reveal the tariffs' devastating impact, painting a stark picture of economic disruption that goes far beyond simple statistics. Each data point is a story of livelihoods upended, businesses struggling to adapt, and communities facing uncertainty. The ripple effects of these tariffs are felt in every corner of the agricultural sector, from the largest exporters to the smallest family farms. U.S. farm exports to China have plummeted by up to 90%, a staggering decline that has left warehouses empty and shipping routes idle. What was once a thriving trade partnership has been reduced to a trickle, with American goods struggling to find buyers in a market that once seemed insatiable. A market built over decades, with trust and cooperation painstakingly established, has been dismantled in a matter of weeks. The speed and scale of this collapse have caught many by surprise, leaving exporters scrambling to adjust to a new reality. Soybean exports, once over 30 million metric tons annually, have dropped to near zero. This crop, a cornerstone of American agriculture, now sits unsold in silos and warehouses, with farmers watching as their hard work goes unrewarded. The logistics chain is in chaos, with empty ships and ports standing as silent witnesses to the disruption. Shipping companies, truckers, and port workers all feel the strain as the flow of goods grinds to a halt, impacting jobs and local economies. The financial loss is in the tens of billions, a figure that only hints at the true cost. Behind every lost dollar are families forced to make tough choices, businesses closing their doors, and rural communities facing an uncertain future. Commodity prices have cratered, leaving farmers with surplus crops they cannot sell. The oversupply drives prices even lower, creating a vicious cycle that threatens the very survival of many farms. Domestic prices now fall below production costs, ensuring losses for those who continue to plant and harvest. For many, the only option is to auction off equipment, cut back on operations, or leave the land altogether. The collapse is unprecedented, with no quick resolution in sight. Entire communities are hollowed out as families move away, businesses shutter, and the sense of hope that once defined rural America fades. Meanwhile, China actively seeks alternative suppliers, turning to countries like Brazil and Russia to fill the gap. These new partnerships are being forged quickly, and the longer the standoff continues, the harder it will be for American farmers to regain lost ground. The U.S. is losing market share that may never be recovered. Once lost, these international relationships are difficult to rebuild, and competitors are eager to step in and claim the business America has left behind. The numbers tell a brutal story of severed economic ties, of opportunities lost, and of a future that grows more uncertain with each passing day. For American agriculture, the consequences of this trade war are not just temporary setbacks, they are fundamental shifts that could reshape the industry for generations to come. Some crops suffer more than others. Soybeans, once a top export, face a devastating blow. The market has vanished, leaving farmers with unsellable crops. Sorghum, once booming due to Chinese demand, is now a total loss. Pork producers lose a critical market, affecting feed costs. The collapse hits farmers from all sides. Cotton, nuts, and dairy also face restricted access. Dependency on a single buyer has become a vulnerability. The greater the past success, the deeper the current pain. The sorrow in farm country is palpable. The trade war's impact is felt across the agricultural spectrum. The trade war is part of a broader global conflict, one that stretches far beyond the headlines about the US and China. While these two economic giants often dominate the conversation, the reality is that the ripple effects of their standoff are being felt in nearly every corner of the world. Trade, once seen as a force for global cooperation, has become a battleground for influence, power, and national interests. The US has used tariffs not just as a tool against China, but as a lever to force policy changes from countries across the globe. These tariffs, often imposed suddenly and with little warning, have disrupted established supply chains and created uncertainty for businesses and governments alike. The message is clear: comply with American demands, or face economic consequences. One flashpoint was the US-India dispute over India's purchase of Russian oil. The US pressured India to cut ties with Russia, threatening sanctions and trade penalties. This move angered not only India but also other nations who saw it as an overreach of American power, and a challenge to their own sovereignty and economic interests. In response, China cited US actions against India as justification for its own retaliatory measures. The trade war narrative became more complex, with countries like China positioning themselves as defenders of global trade norms, even as they pursued their own interests. The US is also locked in trade disputes with other major economies, including Japan and Switzerland. Each of these conflicts has its own history and stakes, but together they paint a picture of a world where economic alliances are fraying and old certainties are being questioned. This aggressive, go-it-alone strategy has left the US increasingly isolated on the world stage. Once a champion of free trade, America now finds itself at odds with both friends and rivals as countries seek new partners and alliances to protect their own interests. For American farmers, the consequences are personal and immediate. As tariffs and counter-tariffs pile up, they find themselves caught in the crossfire, unable to sell their crops abroad, and facing mounting financial pressure at home. Their livelihoods are collateral damage in a much larger global strategy. The US approach has not only alienated traditional allies but also emboldened adversaries. Countries that once looked to America for leadership are now questioning its reliability, while rivals see opportunities to expand their own influence in the vacuum left behind. For many American businesses, finding new markets has become a daunting challenge. The global backlash against US policies means that doors are closing and opportunities are shrinking, making it harder to recover from lost trade. The ripple effects of the trade war are far-reaching. From volatile stock markets to delayed shipments and rising prices, the consequences are being felt by consumers, workers, and companies around the world. What began as a dispute between two nations has become a global economic storm. In many ways, the US now finds itself walled in by its own policies. The barriers it has erected to protect its economy are also keeping out opportunities, innovation, and goodwill from the rest of the world. To truly understand the crisis, we must look beyond the US-China headlines and consider the global context. The trade war is not just a bilateral fight, it's a turning point in the way nations interact, compete, and cooperate in an increasingly interconnected world. The economic pain extends beyond the farm. Farmers' lost income halts spending, affecting local economies. Farm equipment sales plummet, and construction projects stall. Main Street businesses see fewer customers. Farmers face tight margins and heavy debt. Loan defaults threaten homes and heritage. Local banks and governments feel the financial strain. Young people leave for cities, hollowing out rural towns. The trade war threatens a way of life. Communities weaken as economic forces take their toll. The ripple effect turns thriving towns into ghost towns. The trade war reshapes global alliances. US tariffs push countries together against American policy. China, Russia, and India form a powerful new bloc. US actions drive India closer to its rivals. China buys surplus Russian oil, redirecting resources. Economic pressure backfires, solidifying partnerships. American farmers face a global reshuffling. China cultivates new agricultural partners like Brazil. Long-term contracts lock in new supply chains. The US loses market share and influence. The world becomes more fragmented and confrontational. Can American farmers survive this crisis? Many face bankruptcy and foreclosure. Those who survive need government support and new markets. The US-China trade deal prospects are bleak. Both sides are entrenched in their positions. China secures alternative suppliers, reducing compromise incentives. The world fractures into competing economic blocs. American agriculture faces a painful restructuring. The future is uncertain, with political stalemate and economic warfare. Farmers like David Miller struggle daily for survival. The world watches for a breakthrough or permanent silence.